I'm making a statement on a document that I've just received a copy. Mr. Speaker, some of my colleagues who will be making a statement or contribute to the statement don't even have copies of the statement that we are going to. Mr. Speaker, based on that, Mr. Speaker, from the information that we have heard to date, Mr. Speaker, from the information that we have heard and the document that have just been given, Mr. Speaker, I rise to say that, unfortunately, the budget is being revised from Asempa budget to Asambone budget. Speaker, to Asambone budget. Mr. Speaker, I say this because, Mr. Speaker, this is bad news. Bad news for this country. Mr. Speaker, page 51, tax revenue, under tax revenue. Mr. Speaker, from 2007 budget, Mr. Speaker, the tax revenue was projected to be 34.3 billion. 2017, Mr. Speaker, 2017 program, Mr. Speaker, quarter 1 and quarter 2. The program said, Mr. Speaker, the tax as per projected, they are going to rake in a tax of 15.7 billion. Mr. Speaker, to date, the outturn is 13.6 billion. Mr. Speaker, what this means is that the budget, Mr. Speaker, what this simply means is that the government has failed, clearly, Mr. Speaker, in inverted commas, to achieve the revenue target. Mr. Speaker, you also notice that non-tax revenue as projected, Mr. Speaker, the program was that from Q1 to Q2, the outturn would be 2.7 billion. Mr. Speaker, the outturn is 2.1 billion. Mr. Speaker, another cut. Mr. Speaker, clearly what this means is that there's a shortfall of almost 600 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, put the two together, tax revenue and non-tax revenue. The shortfall so far is 2.7 billion Ghana cedis. 2.7 billion Ghana cedis. So, Mr. Speaker, let me take you to expenditure. Mr. Speaker, let me take you to expenditure. Mr. Speaker, the reason why I'm saying this is a Sambone budget is that, Mr. Speaker, look at the expenditure carefully. Page 52. Page 52, Mr. Speaker. In as much as we have paid workers, Mr. Speaker, we are cutting down goods and services budget by 600 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, what this simply means is that we are paying workers to sit at government offices, but they will not have tools to work. Mr. Speaker, we are not giving the government offices the opportunity to get the necessary tools to work. Mr. Speaker, we are cutting down their budget. Mr. Speaker, clearly, capital expenditure, Mr. Speaker, and Mr. Speaker, that's another worrying one. Mr. Speaker, the program, Q1 and Q2, Mr. Speaker, the program was 2.9 billion. Mr. Speaker, the outturn is 2.4 billion. Mr. Speaker, what simply means is that the contractors, those who are working on our capital project, we are not paying them. Mr. Speaker, there's a shortfall of 600 million Ghana cedis. Shortfall of 600 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, let me also say that I am not surprised that Q1, Q2, the outturn from the projected actually outperformed. Mr. Speaker, I'm not surprised because the numbers that they are showing us are cosmetic. The numbers that we are seeing here are cosmetic. Mr. Speaker, you are accumulating arrests. You are failing to pay the people. You are failing to pay contractors. Mr. Speaker, this is artificially compressed. Artificially compressed. Mr. Speaker, again, Mr. Speaker, no.
We are being told that when a head of a family fails to raise the revenue to feed his children and they sleep with hunger, we should praise them for it. You are supposed to raise revenue and provide services. You have failed. We say we should clap for you. Thank you very much. It is only under this government that you bring a budget that is approved on the 31st. and by the 1st of April, you take credit for January, February, March. It is only under this guy. But what is the reality? The reality is very simple. The reality is very, very simple. Figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service indicates that as of June, Ghana's economy minus oil and gas grew by 3.9%. In the same period last year, with our oil, His Excellency John Dramani Mohammed's government did 6.3%. Now we are being told that when you move from 6.3% to 3.9%, that is a growth of the economy. We understand. Mr. Speaker, we are told that we are reprofiling our debt and therefore our debt will not go up. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I would like to read the Monetary Policy Committee's own report for July. And the Bank of Ghana's Monetary Policy Committee indicates that the reason for Ghana's growth of debt from 122 billion to 137 billion, and I quote, is as a result of the issuance of long-dated domestic bonds. That is the reality. So when you change your creditor, you change the name of your creditor and you extend your tenure, your debt goes up. The reality is that only in the first quarter of the year, we added 5 billion to our public debt. By May, in 5 months, we increased it to 15 billion. That means in April, we increased it by 5 billion. In May, we increased it by another 5 billion. That tells you that we are growing our public debt by an average 3 billion a month over 5 months. And that is fiscal consolidation. Mr. Speaker, gross international reserves, gross international reserves means nothing if you don't compare the depreciation of the cedi. It is meant to provide cushion for your currency. In the same period last year, our cedi depreciated by 0.04%. Now it did 2.5%. So when you depreciate your cedi by 2.5%, it is better than 0.04%. Where do you get that economy? But Mr. Speaker, we keep being told that His Excellency, former President Ofori left Ghana 9.6 billion of public debt. I fear for the scholars of finance and economy when we make this. Where in the world do we use nominal values that have stood for over 10 years to calculate present value? And these are things that our students of finance are learning. You need to understand that 9.6 billion, when you begin to factor in the time value of money, cannot be 9.6 billion. The reality is also that, as per Bank of Ghana's own economic and financial data released, Ghana's economies benefited tremendously from oil, whereas last year at the same time we did only 400 million. By His Excellency John Dramani Mohammed's effort, we did 1.2 billion of oil. Again, the same time last year, whilst we did 2 billion for gold exports, we have done 3 billion, an additional 1 billion. Tell me, what did His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and my brother, His Excellency Vice President, did to ensure that oil grew and gold export increased? Nothing. Is it one village, one dam? Is it one village, one dam? Is it one district, one factory? Is it the army worm? So at the end of the day, you are taking credit when you are yet to be on your feet. Mr. Speaker, this economy is on a life support. Our economy is on a life support. And anything to do propaganda with our economy will continue to expose us. The reality is that we don't have money to pay workers when the month is due. The reality is that we are struggling to even get offices for 110 ministers. The reality is that you are programmed to spend and borrow an additional 3 billion. So in 9 months, you would have doubled Ghana's public debt to 4 left. Thank you very much.
Honorable Daniel Abuadi. To begin with, Mr. Speaker, we need to be grateful that we have today an opposition responsible enough not to even question the credibility of the statistical service that had provided a lot of these figures today. That actually is a positive departure from what we used to have in the past. Mr. Speaker, I've heard the Finance Minister speak eloquently about the very competent manner in which he and his team have managed the economy. Let me congratulate him and also to tell him to hasten slowly. When he reaches a moment where inflation has gone down into single digits and kept there for a period of 3 years, he can come for some boasting. When he reaches a moment when he's able to grow the economy of Ghana to at least 14%, he can come for some praises. When he's able to reach a moment when he's able to take treasury bills down to below 10% to about 9%, he can come for some praises. Until then, it's important for the Minister of Finance to hasten very slowly because he has not achieved anything yet. Mr. Speaker, I also overheard the Minister say that he inherited a very weak economy. That's always very debatable. Because Mr. Speaker would have thought that if somebody inherited an economy at the time when the gross reserve for the country stood at 1.8 months of cover, and then you are inheriting 2.8 months of cover, you clearly cannot be talking about a weak economy because what you left behind at the time actually was almost in a state of comatose. But we didn't make that kind of comment. Mr. Speaker, if somebody met 18% inflation in 2009, and you are meeting inflation that is 15.4, declining downward, you obviously know that you are inheriting a much better economy than what somebody inherited before you. Mr. Speaker, if somebody dealt with interest rates, treasury bill rates of up 25% in 2009, and you actually met that 16%, and for you to be talking about a weak economy, you obviously are not being very truthful. So, Mr. Speaker, it's important for some of these facts to be stated clearly in order for us to be able to have a very good debate. But, Mr. Speaker, bottom line has to do with the fact that the major things that you promised to the people of Ghana, nothing has been heard so far. Cost of living to the people of Ghana, that's the most important. What really is being happening to it? Nothing much. You talk about free SHS. And as of now, we have a situation where you are literally running away from the very thing you spoke about. Continuing students are totally being left in the lurch. And you are not talking about some few students who will actually qualify to inherit the free. That's not scholarship. Mr. Speaker, talking about jobs and jobs. We should be talking about a situation where the people of Ghana can be talking positively about jobs. But really, for all that you've spoken about declining, indicators that are getting better and better, the job for the young people of Ghana today is not available. They cannot even be talking with any hope about jobs. So it's important for us to hasten very slowly in order to be able to know exactly where this country is going. And the final thing, Mr. Speaker, I will say is this, that for all that the Minister has both said about, the revenue performance clearly showed that we did not really see any creativity by way of revenue policies. Otherwise, we should not be talking about missing revenue targets today, and we now talking about exactly the same problem that we used to have in the past. So, Mr. Minister, it's important to hasten slowly because the journey is very long, and the reality will soon dawn. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister transmitted information to us all right, but he transmitted from out of coverage area. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, we've been talking about debt. The government says they are borrowing. Now there's a new word for it, leveraging, which is not borrowing, claiming. Now, since we left office in December 2016, as the minister said, the debt was 122 billion. To date, the debt is now 137 billion, which means that since this government came in, you have borrowed 15 billion. If you take it by the day, that is 3 billion. If you take it by the month, that's 3 billion. If you take it, Mr. Speaker, if you take it by the year, that is 36 billion Ghana cedis. Now, by 2020, when this government leaves office, the debt will be 140 billion. I heard the Honorable Deputy Minister saying a whopping 122 billion. They will leave office by borrowing 140 billion, which is over and above the hoping 122, that if they go by the rate at which they are going. Mr. Speaker, my honorable friend, Honorable Atta talk about cosmetic figures. Mr. Speaker, it is hard to believe that this government is not meeting its target. Yet, they claim that the GDP in nominal terms will go to 202 billion. Mr. Speaker, I want to be able somebody to work out this math for me. How come the government gets 67.5 as debt to GDP ratio? Mr. Speaker, this government is cooking figures for us. Mr. Speaker, this is House of Records. I'll prove it. Mr. Speaker, if you have a debt of 137 billion or 137.5 billion, and you are claiming that you are getting a debt to GDP of 67.5, what is your GDP? Mr. Speaker, I will leave that. Mr. Speaker, this government is basically not achieving its target. It is downsizing the things that they said they are going to do. They are not paying capital spending. They are not paying any money. They are not paying goods and services. Yet they claim that they are going to achieve what they said they are going to achieve.